Hey guys, what's going on? Paul here. Welcome back to another Cardano live stream, and it's great to be joined again by Farid from Dapp Central. We had one a few weeks ago, and I really enjoyed the conversation. So it's great that Farid could come back on and join me again. Farid, thanks for taking the time to come on.
Anytime, Paul. Thank you for having me on. I just mentioned this to you before we kick this off. Being in the passenger seat for these live streams has been a breeze, and so thank you for the opportunity. Looking forward to today's chat.
Hey, no worries. Look, I really enjoyed the conversation, and I had lots of people giving feedback that they enjoyed the over and back the last time. So, like I said to you before, we're gonna have to try and make this a regular thing every few weeks that we set one up to just go on and have a chat about what's going on. Today, I think we're going to focus on RareEvo. You were at the RareEvo conference in Denver. I had a lot of FOMO sitting back watching it on Twitter, and at least I can get all the updates from you here. See how our time is going then. We might look at Catalyst, with Catalyst voting being open, and a few interesting stats we found around that, and we'll see where our time sits then. Anyone coming in, please do share the video out, give it a like, drop your comments below if you have questions or want to drive the direction of the conversation here at all. Do let me know, and we'll try and pull in as many questions as possible. And actually, I didn't share it out yet, so I better do that. But how would you give us the high level of RareEvo, and was it as good as it seemed on social media? To me, it looked really good in terms of I liked the aspect of it being cross-chain. It wasn't just Cardano, so it gave you good insights into lots of what's going on. But what was your own, how did it go for you?
It was a really solid event. I think for me, the fact that it was multi-chain was definitely a plus. Now, to that extent, the majority of the people that were there were predominantly from the Cardano community. And I think that just kind of is a result of the event being solely focused on Cardano last year. But it was good to see VeChain there. There was a couple other networks that, I had never heard of. And so I did spend a little bit of time, touching on those booths. But overall, this was a really huge opportunity to, number one, create with builders. And then number two, for builders to create or to connect, with their community. And so a lot of, people coming in from different viewpoints, and a lot of people also coming in from different parts of the world. I met supporters not only of my channel, but of the Cardano community coming in from Australia. Some of them came all the way from Germany, UK, just from so many different countries and continents. It was really mind boggling because, again, we're in the bear, right? So for me, it was really eye opening to see the builders, including World Mobile, which I sat down with Nikki, seeing, Damon from Charlie 3, talking to DeFi Dan from Indigo, talking to Rob and Josh from Cornucopias, and, the Mehen team, and the list goes on and on and on. I could literally take up probably 30 minutes of this live stream talking about, everybody that I got to meet with. But overall, it was a really, really enjoyable event. The networking was amazing. The fireside chats were really, really solid. Got to hear from Charles, Frederick, and so many other people from the heads of, the Cardano Foundation, Emergo, etc. And then one thing that was a little bit different this year too that I really enjoyed was the breakout sessions. So throughout the entire event, there were breakout rooms where you could basically go in and find out about, specific things and view demos of things that people had built out. So I know ViFi had a room. Arno and Sebastian had a breakout session for Hydra and just a few more. And so, again, overall, really, really high quality event. I recommend that anybody who's listening to this that didn't make it, that they try to make it out there. And unfortunately, Paul, I didn't get to see you out there. So hopefully next year you and I get to shake hands at RareEvo.
Yeah, definitely. That'd be a good live stream to have one at an event, to do one like that. I see lots of different people coming in. I see we have Australia, Norway. I think I've seen Sweden there. Let us know where you're tuning in from here. And like you said, there was a lot of people there from all over the world out in RareEvo, and to see that commitment, I think, in a bear market, because look, prices aren't great. If people have to use crypto to travel, it takes a bit more of the crypto that they have to actually pay for it. So it's great to see that there was such a good turnout. And you said it'd take a half an hour to go through. So I'd say we give it about a half an hour to go through, because there was lots of different updates. And I'm sure most people watching are subscribed to you, but there's a link to your channel in the description. So anyone that isn't, make sure you subscribe. I know you have some of the interviews out already, and I think you have a few more set to come out too. starting out, World Mobile had some big updates. The eSIM was launched, and also AirNode sales are going to start within the month. So do you want to give us the high level of the updates you got from Mickey, and if there's anything else that we don't know of yet?
Yeah, more than happy to. So getting to meet Mickey, James Tag, and Nick, and just the entire team was, again, really, really interesting experience for myself. Funny enough, when I got there on the day of, or the registration day, the one of the few booths that were yet to have set up was the World Mobile booth. And I went by there, and Mickey was by himself trying to set up the booth. And so I actually was able to tag along, gave him a hand in setting up the booth, and a few other members. And he actually gave me a piece of World Mobile swag. So I was really excited about that. But the following day, he actually sat down with me, and we basically broke down everything that World Mobile was doing. So on day one is when they actually broke the news of the eSIM, as well as they brought out a van, which was basically hosting some of the infrastructure, to connect using your eSIM to the World Mobile network. So throughout the entire event, not only was Mickey able to actually show us, live demos of him utilizing the World Mobile network, which was just set up that particular day, but he also gave access to, I believe his name is Alex. It's actually Theo, or Chef Pool's brother, who also had access to the eSIM. So that was a pretty big announcement on day one. Mickey then followed that up with a fireside chat, basically touching on their expansion into the US. And that was probably one of the biggest things that I noticed, was with Mickey coming on at RareEvo, there was a big focus on adoption and expansion into the United States. And so I'm sure that everybody listening here is probably well aware that, World Mobile kicked off in Zanzibar, really trying to make an impact in Africa, but things have kind of taken a little bit of time to come to fruition there. And the community seems to, have been a little bit impatient with how things are rolling out there. But that was one of the things that I noticed that Mickey mentioned, was the opportunity is ripe within the US. They've done some testing already in New Hampshire. Things are moving a little bit faster here. So I think moving forward, their goal is going to be to try to focus on rolling out the World Mobile network in the United States. So that was probably the biggest takeaway from my end. And then another cool thing to add there was that he did sit down with ENOs, and I believe you're an Earth node operator too, right, Paul?
Yep.
So
Ready and waiting.
yeah, and I think there's many of us waiting, as well. But it was really cool to also then, at the very end of both days, actually get to sit down with Mickey and James in a room and basically hash out any of the ENO's questions for literally over an hour. And so that was a really cool experience. And I told Mickey that, that's what I think really makes him different, and the World Mobile project different, is the amount of transparency that they have and the amount of openness that they have with their Earth node operators and their community. Now, last but not least, they did have their community Twitter space. And so this was, I think, a piece of news that is probably available to the public now. But they did mention that they will be rolling out, and that they've gotten approval to roll out an aerostat within, I believe, the month of September in one particular country. Now, they didn't name where, but I have a hint or a feeling that it's going to be a country in Africa. So those are the majority of the updates that I got, again, from Mickey. And I do have an interview, which is currently under review by their legal team. So as soon as I get the go ahead, I'll be releasing that here on my channel.
Nice. Look forward to that. Actually, I had missed that they have final approval, do they, on the aerostat?
They do. So that was mentioned during the Twitter space. And again, they didn't tell us which country, but they did say that they've gotten approval to at least get one aerostat finally into the air. So that, I believe, is a huge piece of news.
Yeah, that's massive for them. I really think that's going to get a lot of attention, because when they first started talking about doing it, there was a lot of people getting excited about it. And then because it started to drag on and take so long, lots of people have stopped paying attention. But I think when the first one kicks off, then that really will bring a lot of attention back to World Mobile. So it's great to hear that. And I agree on the transparency. It's great to see that they are getting involved with the community, and the Earth node operators especially are helping to really really helping with the build out of the testnet and getting involved. Another project I think that's very good at the transparency side is Cornucopias, and what they do with the weekly videos. And it's great to watch Web3 development that have that openness about how they're developing and how things are going. So overall, very successful for World Mobile at RareEvo, and looking forward to to the interview when you do get it out. I think the Earth Node operator, the next call is tomorrow as well. I think I've seen that somewhere, popped up somewhere today. But other projects then, Cornucopias showed off a new demo, or not a demo. You were actually able to play the mining game, were you?
I was, and that was. It's always a pleasure, and I even just speaking about it now, I'm getting excited again. Every time that I go to these events, I always see Rob and Josh, and they are the most supportive duo when it comes to content creation and, like you said, keeping up with the community. For anybody who's not aware, they have the Kopi Cafe series, which basically has turned them into full-time YouTubers. I think they're on like episode number 65 now. Every week they release an update surrounding their game. And so initially they had actually planned to skip that particular week because they were both going to be on travel and they weren't going to be able to make the event. And the same exact thing happened last year. And somehow last year I had my equipment there and we were just able to kind of connect. And so we actually ended up hosting, I think it was Kopi Cafe episode 27 back then. And so this year it was Kopi Cafe episode number 64. And we're in the same predicament. And I actually sat down with Rob and Josh. We're just going to shoot a video just for my channel. And lo and behold, ended up turning out into Kopi Cafe episode number 64. So I always have to just, shout them out with the amount of support that they show in collaborating with content creators like myself and even you. I saw that you recently broke some pretty awesome high quality footage with Rob on your channel surrounding the early access for OGs.
Yeah, it's great to get the you have access now as well, don't you, to the
I do.
That could be another stream where we both go into it and explore it, and we could stream that one out at some point. I'm definitely due to get more content out on it. They have the new updates with the night feature, and what's the other one?
So the latest one now is Golden Hour. And so
Yes.
that is the latest build. I haven't tested that one yet. So I'll probably spend a little bit of time after this live stream to do that, given the fact that it's a US holiday here. So but all in all, I mean, the mining game was a really awesome experience. Seeing, the amount of time and effort that they put into it, and then the speed at which they were able to turn that around. I think they said it took them a total of 3 weeks, and so the approach that they're taking to development, I think, is really starting to show itself. Them taking a piece by piece approach, iterating on things and then allowing for the community like yourself and I to also give our feedback and input has been monumental. So I'm looking forward to updates that they'll be making between now and NFTLV. And then I think we should also be able to see the release of their racing game. So pretty big updates coming in from Cornucopias.
Yeah, it's great. And because they've built, a lot of people, not a lot, but some people ask questions about when Toledo Valley, when the early footage came out and said, is that it, or is there anything else? But because they built a lot of that up from the ground up and a lot of the assets in it are all custom by themselves, they're able to reuse a lot of them throughout different aspects of the, I don't know what you call it at this stage, the game or metaverse, or it's big, whatever you want to call it. So they can reuse a lot of that. So like you said there, it only took them, 2-3 weeks to make the mining game, or well, it is a mini game, I suppose, is it?
Yeah, I think these are all just going to be different aspects of the pieces of the game that you'll be able to do, right? So they have farming coming next, and then they've also mentioned fishing. So these are like, I guess, activities. But then also keep in mind they will have fully dedicated mini games on mobile. They've kind of shifted away from that lately because they didn't want people to get confused and think that they were, only developing on mobile. But everything that we're seeing, within the full-blown metaverse will also be available as mini games, like you mentioned, on mobile.
Yeah, I think the thing with the mobile was they developed a full, I think, 99 levels on a mobile game, but they were a bit worried that people might think that was it. That was Cornucopias Metaverse, and the quality on that is going to be a lot less than what we've seen from the actual game, because when something's on PC and created in Unreal Engine, then it's going to be a lot higher quality at that. But what else we got? Oh yeah, there was Batman was walking around RareEvo too, was he?
He was actually playing at the Cornucopias booth with his full bat suit on.
Nice. I've seen some pictures and selfies going around with that too. So what's next then? When you see me writing here, I'm just taking timestamps so I can put them in for people afterwards. But what projects? Who else did you talk to, or any other updates?
Yeah, so I also got to sit down with C3 or Charlie 3. So Damon was nice enough to give me about 20 to 30 minutes of his time. I actually just released that video, I believe, 2 days ago. If you guys want to check that out over on the channel, feel free to do so. But the biggest things that I got from that, was a better understanding, number one, of C3 and how it operates. I really thought that I understood how it worked, but there's nothing better than hearing it directly from the team themselves as to, all the intricacies and all the plans that they have going on. Now, the biggest piece of news surrounding that particular interview was the C3 ETH to ADA bridge. So for anybody who's not aware, they were impacted by the Nomad bridge. I don't want to call it a hack, but I guess that's what it is, which took place about a year ago, actually, right around this time. And since then, they were trying to figure out how to get and make the community whole. And so Damon was able to release some alpha on that video or that interview, basically letting me know that they will be migrating and that they are currently working on a one-way bridge to basically make anybody whole who was impacted by the Nomad Bridge hack. On the Ethereum side of things, they'll be able to basically put in their wallet address. Then there'll be, a snapshot that they used from last year to verify the people that were impacted. And if your wallet address is valid, you'll be able to actually reclaim or recoup some of your C3 tokens on Cardano, basically making the community whole, right? So that was, I think, the biggest takeaway for me. And then he also touched on their integration with Mehen. So maybe that takes me into Mehen, but for anybody who's not aware, they're bringing a fiat-backed stablecoin. And that's a pretty big piece of news there for the entire Cardano community, right? Adding new opportunities and potentially more liquidity into the space, given the fact that right now we just have IUSD and Djed. So that was probably the two biggest things. Another thing that stuck out to me coming in from Damon was that they're looking to, in the near future, right? This is like their 1 to 5 year vision, break out of just doing regular price feeds, which I think is what they've been come to know or what they've been known for lately. And so they're looking into, RealFi and crazy enough, Microsoft, Blizzard, and a few other big names are out there. And so he said he was going to try to see if he could rub some shoulders with them as well out there.
Nice. Yeah, it was great to hear. I didn't get to watch your interview yet with C3, but I must sit down and watch that maybe later today. It's great to hear the bridge it's being built. Did he give a timeline of when it might be live for people? Or?
He didn't give me an exact date. He did say that the development, I believe, had already started as a part of the sprint that just kicked off this week with respect to their development process. So it is something that they are already working on, but he didn't give me a final deploy date. But it does seem like right now all their resources will be focusing on that.
Okay, yeah, I don't think many people will be looking to bridge over and sell anytime soon anyway, because I know I have a small amount of C3 sitting on Ethereum that was bought before the Nomad hack, and I never bothered to try and move it over through Nomad at the time. So even if I do pull it across now at the current prices, it's not going to be worth selling it right now, but it would be great to have that up there and just allow people the decision on what they do. Would you mention there Mehen as well, the fiat-backed stablecoin? So I sat down with the team a few weeks ago now at this point, and we talked about the integration. It's great to see a live integration for Charlie 3 too, and they're the ones, for anyone who hasn't seen any of that, their Charlie 3 oracles will be the ones that will be checking the bank account API I think it's once a day, so it'll be every night to see what the balance is. And then when they go to mint any of the stablecoin USDM on chain, it can only be minted if there is enough in the bank account to back it up. So really brings a complete new level to transparency for actually what's being minted, because we look at stable coins, and fiat-backed stable coins are always great to have. I know with what happened with the banks earlier in the year, there's a little less confidence in them, but they're still a very safe option to have in general. So it's great to see there will be that transparency as well, because there's always questions. USDT, is it really backed, or what's actually backing it up? So you will have full transparency on that. And from talking to them, I think they're still targeted for a Q4, small release anyway in Q4, is it?
Yep. And that was one of the teams that I did ask for dates surrounding testnet and mainnet. So Matt Ploman, who I believe is, founder with Jillian, I was able to chat with him, Steve, another Matt. There's like 3 Matts on their team, so it's always interesting when I just say Matt because you have to specify which Matt. But they did say that they are aiming for Q4 in terms of their release. Now, to be fully transparent, they did mention that they have, I believe, the legal framework set up within 3 or 4 states in the United States. So for anybody who's interested in getting access to USDM, they'll have to basically get the initial mint done in the states that they have jurisdiction or approval for. And then once somebody mints from those states and then brings it on chain, anybody else can then interact with it, right? So I think what we'll see early on is going to be some pretty big mints coming in from, a few key players. And then once it's introduced into the ecosystem, everybody else can then have a go at it.
Yeah, I know when I talk to them, they're trying to get it in as many states as possible, but that's only so people can mint it. People in any state will be able to use it once it's on chain. The only part that you need to be in particular states for is for actually accessing the bank account, sending in and minting it yourself. And we will have an option, well, the likes of myself in Ireland, outside of the US, there will be ways for us to mint too. It's just going to be a different process. And I think it's going to be a lot easier for them anyway on the legal side, letting others outside the US be able to mint. And another aspect I really liked when I talked to them was they're using the same bank as USDC. And what that means is that anybody can take their USDC on Ethereum or other chains, send it to the bank, and because the bank actually accepts that, and then you will be able to bring that into Cardano. So it's like you're bridging it in, but really you're going through that centralized element. So it gets burned on one side and gets created on Cardano. So there's no aspect worried that if something happens to bridge or anything like that. So it's an easier on-ramp for people to come in like that. And yeah, Roki says here, we're just missing Pete from Learn Cardano. That could be a good one. The next time we hook up, we might try and bring Pete into the mix as well. It's kind of hard with the time zones to get everyone in, with me being in Ireland, you in the US, and Pete in Australia. So there's only probably 1 or 2 hours in the day in early that we can make it work. And Rob's in too. Not sure if you're just in, Rob, but we're already covering Cornucopias, and Farid was giving me all the latest on it there. So what's up next? We've covered World Mobile, Kopi, C3, Mehen. Who else did you get to sit with at RareEvo?
Indigo. So I got to chill out with DeFi Dan. He was actually at the swimming pool, and that was another cool thing, right? So last year, I don't think a lot of people got to check out the amenities at the hotel, but DeFi Dan, who's going to be the lead marketer from the Indigo Protocol, was actually hanging out by the pool, talking to the Mehen guys, etc. And so it was really cool to see, the entire Cardano community, not just in one piece of RareEvo, but to see them spread out, shooting interviews in all these different spots. It was really interesting. And the only way that you knew that people were there for RareEvo was through their badge. So anyway, sorry, go ahead. Did you want to say something?
No, RareEvo, or not Rare, Indigo is definitely one of my favorite protocols for how solid they've been from the beginning. Just clean, launched, no frills, no big raise or anything like that. Completely self-funded, had some Catalyst funding, but they open sourced anything they built through Catalyst, they open source. So it's a team I have a lot of respect for what they've done.
I completely agree. And that was actually one of the things that I sat down and I talked to DeFi Dan about, right? So they have, I think, like 3 or 4 proposals, which were all open source, that were funded as a part of Catalyst round funding round number 7. And one of those is Dexter, and that's really been getting a lot of eyeballs and a lot of adoption, specifically with respect to Dave Beaumont. I think his name is Beaumont_DVD on Twitter. But he basically took a piece of open source software developed by Indigo and was able to basically leverage that and turn that into somewhat of an aggregator, right? So that was one of the things I talked to DeFi Dan about, was about how big of an impact their proposals have had on their community, spurring additional development on top of what they've already put out. But not only that, their regular Indigo source code is also open source as well. So they're really committed to, I think, bringing adoption to the entire space by allowing people not to have to rebuild the wheel when it comes to their protocol. Another cool thing that he did mention too, which I'd actually just released the video on my channel earlier about an hour ago. So for anybody who's interested in actually hearing this directly from DeFi Dan himself, feel free to go check that out. But he mentioned the adoption in the building out of the protocol V2. So about a month ago, they released their monthly newsletter, which again, I recommend that you guys check that out. It's super informative surrounding Indigo. But the biggest thing from that was the web app V2. So they basically rebranded and redid their user interface. Now, what he basically told me is that on top of the web app V2, they're also redoing their smart contract. So we have web app V2, which is already released, but we're now going to be getting the protocol V2, which is going to be a rework of all of their smart contracts. Some of the positives or benefits include faster speeds, higher throughput, as well as simplified readability because they're going to be using Icon. So it's actually one of the things I want to touch on when we jump into the next segment surrounding Catalyst and some of the proposals is just going to be how it seems like everybody's now jumping into Icon. And there were a few other posts that I actually saw with Ethereum devs utilizing Icon and being extremely surprised by that. So I think Icon definitely has a huge opportunity in front of them. A lot of eyeballs are on them. And it was really cool to talk to DeFi Dan about how Indigo is going to be using Icon as well.
Yeah, see, a lot of projects now are really looking to, when they're looking at redoing their contracts, Icon seems to be the way to go now for building on Cardano. And any developers I talk to seem to just say it's so much easier to build using that. And like you mentioned there for Indigo, the throughput is going to be a lot bigger because the actual size of transactions and everything they create is a lot smaller when they're using Icon. So yeah, we'll touch on a few of them. We're going to move over to Catalyst in a few minutes, but I'm enjoying getting the summarized updates here. And for anyone just in, the link to Farid's channel is in the description. So make sure you check that out. And a lot of the projects we're talking about here, he has full interviews with all of them from RareEvo. And you should be subscribed to this man anyway with the amount of Cardano content he puts out. And another Cardano content creator, Josh. Great to see you on, Josh. Late Game Crypto. If you're looking for Cardano content, there's another one that you should be subscribed to too. And where are we? So yeah, we've covered lots of projects there. Any other ones before we kind of move off the RareEvo summary that we should touch on?
Yeah, I'll keep this really, really brief. And so I was able to sit down with Marvin Burton from Maestro. I was also able to chat with Daniel Friedman, Theo from Chef Pool. They actually launched the Palmyra app, which is going to be a DEX for commodities, right? Which was a really huge update. Also have an interview coming out with them. And then I was also able to collaborate with creators like Josh, Trim Brusette. Again, unfortunately, you and Pete weren't there. So it was a little bit tough, but I also was able to hang out with J Crypto. I also even saw Subcritical. And so, aside from just speaking with projects, it was a really good experience also talking with collaborators and then just kind of getting a sense of where they are mentally, right? Because we're in the bear market and it seems like, views are just down across the board. But it was really reassuring and really encouraging to chat with everybody else that's also doing a very similar thing that we're doing here, which is, again, keeping the community updated as to what's going on with Cardano.
Yeah, I think even when I went to the summit in Switzerland last year, I missed lots of the presentations because to me, one of the biggest things was networking and just getting to talk to people. And it does give you a lot of motivation for what you're doing when you can start talking to people and people are real. It's not just like Twitter where there's a profile picture and you don't know what the person is really like, but you get a really good feel for people when you actually meet them in person and see, you don't know what kind of collaborations can come out of that as well. But I think that's a really good summary on RareEvo, the projects you talked to, and hopefully next year I will be able to make it out there. I don't know if it's going to be in the same place next year. They haven't announced the location yet, but there was some hints that it might be somewhere else, but I don't know yet. You don't have insights on that, or you can't say, is it?
Well, I think I actually know again. Now, granted, I have to give a shout out to Josh from Lake Game Crypto. I believe, don't quote me, but I believe that this will be taking place in Vegas. So that is what I've heard through the grapevine. And what's interesting is they've already started selling the tickets. So for anybody who's interested, I believe the going rate like a week before the event was like $400 for the general and then about $1,000 for the VIP. But right now you can buy the general for $100 and you can buy the VIP for $400. So if you know that you're going to be attending, now would be the time to do it.
Yeah, I seen that in the middle of my FOMO when I was looking at the RareEvo site. I seen that the VIP was up for 400, so I was tempted. And now, if it is going to be in Vegas, then I'd be very tempted because I've never been there. So I might have to look that up after. Just trying to see what comments I've missed before we move on. I think we're going to go on to Catalyst now. And any questions anyone has, do drop them down below. Thoughts on Butane Protocol launching soon on Cardano? Personally, I think it's great to see more protocols building. First off, but more competition. It's going to be a synthetics platform. I'm not sure if it's going to be the very same as Indigo or what. I haven't seen a huge amount about them yet. I know some of the team members are involved with other protocols and there's good experience there, but I don't know if you have any more insights, Farid, into them.
Yeah, so I know that they released their roadmap, and one thing I did appreciate about that is that they didn't go into too much detail, right? I think one thing that I've learned with roadmaps is a lot of times they shift. And so if you haven't checked out the roadmap, definitely make sure to go ahead and do that. I did get a connection made with the team member from the Butane Protocol. And so I'm actually working with them right now to set up an interview. So I'd be more than happy to take some of the questions that you guys might have here. If you guys want to drop them in the chat for today's video, I'll go back and rewatch. But as Paul mentioned, I mean, I think it's good for the ecosystem. The more competition we have, the better. You know, we saw, I think, the cream of the crop come about when it came to wallets because of the amount of competition. And then very similar thing with DEXs where we have, 5, 6, and probably now 7 with the addition of Spectrum Finance coming online, where it forces everybody to really step up their game, right? Indigo has had a pretty big piece of the market share. And I actually commended DeFi Dan during my interview surrounding that. They're number 2 in terms of TVL. But if Butane can give them a run for their money or at least keep them sharp, I think it ends up being a positive for the entire ecosystem.
Yeah, I think it's better for us, the actual users of the protocol, when there is competition out there, because as you say, it drives everybody to do better, to build better protocols, better projects for us. I think on the wallet side and DEX side, we're getting to the stage where we're a little bit saturated and we need maybe 2 protocols, 2 wallets and 2 DEXs, in my opinion, to really push to the front. And unfortunately, some of the other ones to nearly die away. I never like to see protocols failing, but for the good of the ecosystem, I think at the minute, sometimes it's too split up. Like when new people come into Cardano right now, you talk to me, I might tell them to use one particular DEX and one wallet, and then they might ask you what they should use, and then you tell them another wallet and another DEX, and there's no one defined path within Cardano. It's great to have options. As we say, it drives for innovation within them, but we need to start seeing which ones are really going to rise to the top. That I don't like to say they get a monopoly in that, but just that there's a set path for people, that they're not getting different opinions everywhere when they go to enter an ecosystem, that they can actually know where they should be going. And what else? Actually, I know my timestamps here before I forget. Touch on Meld. I actually interviewed Ken there last week. I think that interview will probably go out this evening, talking about the latest for Meld and the future of Cardano and Meld. So I'd say I'll have that one out this evening. It's ready to go. What else we got? Didn't make the RareEvo. Are you going to upcoming events? Personally, I'm not sure just yet if I'm going to make anything this year. Are you going to any more this year?
Yeah, I'll be heading out to Vegas this year in about 3 weeks for NFTLV. I'm still debating about the Cardano Summit. That's really far away from where I'm currently at. But I will definitely be at NFTLV. I did also just want to touch on that last comment surrounding Bimmer House and Meld. I think there's a pretty big piece of news that'll be coming down the pipes here with respect to their mobile application launch. So stay tuned for that. They'll be having a public event touching on the release of that very soon. So I think that's all we can say for now. But I'm excited to see your interview, Paul, with Ken.
Nice to get a bit of info there. It's been kind of a long time coming. There's been lots of questions about, are they still going to build on Cardano? Are they not? in short, for anyone that's here, yes, they will still launch their lending and borrowing on Cardano, but it's not going to be anytime soon, I would say, due to some things that it just doesn't fit their risk tolerance right now. But more information on that in the video. So where else have we got? Roki almost went to Denver. Yeah, DeFi FOMO. It's kind of what we were talking about there. Indigo fan, but excited to see Butane coming out. More competition, the better. You need to make more bridges. Yeah, I think we have the bridges now. Like one chain, you can bridge your Bitcoin, Ethereum, USDC, USDT into Cardano. So it's just the market right now. It's just shit. The crypto market in general, not just Cardano. The whole market right now, and September generally isn't great for crypto. So I'm not expecting any big fireworks in September. Coming into October, I think we need to get more comments from the SEC on the different applications that are in there. So maybe from October on, we could start to see things getting a bit better. I don't know, your own thoughts on bridges?
Yeah, I think you're spot on. We have more than enough in my eyes. We just need people to actually begin using them. I think the biggest bridge player that we've seen really come to the front has been the Chainport Bridge, right? They're partnered up and I believe collaborating with World Mobile. They're collaborating with Cornucopias. They're collaborating with Meld, Paribus. So like a ton of tokens supported via Chainport. But I think the biggest thing is we just need to get people comfortable to actually utilize them, right? And the thing too is this bridging process, if there isn't a fully functioning protocol on the other end, right, where there's actually a need or a use case for bridging, then we're not going to see it happen. But I think we have enough bridges. We just need the use cases to actually begin using the bridges.
Yeah, very true. And the more protocols we get launching, the more reason there is for people to come into the ecosystem and start playing around. And just this one, just to touch on what Roki said here about, this was in relation to my comments saying about maybe we're a bit too many options for wallets and that right now. And he says, you can see the issues that MetaMask introduces, the temptation pressure to control being such a ubiquitous wallet for ETH. And there was issues, was it last year or the year before, where they actually went and blocked a certain country, and they blocked the wrong country as well. I can't think of it off the top of my head what it was, but they had the ability to block users using MetaMask. Now, it didn't block the users from their crypto, which some people thought it did initially, because once you have your seed phrase, you can restore, but it meant that they couldn't use MetaMask. So that was a scary time for people. And I do agree that having a monopoly, as I was saying about too many options, making it hard for new people coming in, that was in my mind too, that you don't want any one person to have control. But I suppose the education around it as well for people, that you can always restore your wallet in something else. Your seed phrase is the most important thing you have, or your hardware wallet, that you can plug that into any different wallet and have the exact same usage. Thomas says here, working Dead NFT. I seen someone mention that yesterday or the day before somewhere, but I have no idea actually what it's about.
Can I take that one?
Yeah, go for it.
So Working Dead is an NFT project, and they're building a learn to earn platform, right? Onboarding creators, and then also for the consumer, getting, educational content. So I was actually onboarded by Sean, who is one of the developers from the team. If you guys have not already checked them out, join their Discord. A lot of really good alpha coming in from them. And so, for example, if you think of a platform like Skillshare, right, where you can go in and you can create your own course, you can add the content, videos, pictures, text, and then you can create quizzes and stuff like that. That's exactly what Working Dead is bringing, but they're doing that with Web3. And so somebody like you, Paul, maybe you need to reach out, and I can definitely put you in connection with Sean. But I've seen myself on there. I've seen One Wise Melon and a few other Noyek and Unpopular L, just people that are looking to create content, and you can do that on their platform. Now, the way that they're also gamifying this, sorry about that.
You're all right. We can still hear you, I know.
Yeah, so one thing that they are doing, let me just get this back on, is that they're allowing for NFT holders to actually stake their assets. So if you hold a working Dead NFT, which the floor has been rising from about 40 ADA to I think right now around 100 ADA in the past like 3 or 4 days, because they are getting ready to roll out the actual platform. You can actually stake those NFTs and you can earn the work token, which is the native governance token for the working Dead platform. And so you can actually use that work to open up courses. And you can imagine that, if you create a course as a creator, and people come in and purchase the course, not only do they get the content, but then you as the creator do get a portion of the work tokens for putting out a course. So one really cool course that I saw on there was a course surrounding creating NFTs. And then there was another course surrounding just content creation. So you could literally use this for any sort of content. But I'm excited to see what they're doing. And I believe in the mission, which is, again, why I've been onboarded as a teacher. So you guys will definitely see more content on my channel surrounding the Working Dead.
Nice. Yeah, I seen the name mentioned yesterday, but didn't know what it was. It's definitely one I'll have to take a look at after this. Beamer House went viral with his audio clips, not the way he wanted to go viral. I think that was the Meld question. So the answers for that will come out later in the interview today. When pump, don't know. You look at the SEC last week losing the case, the markets shot up, but the markets are now down below where they were initially before that big one. So for me, I'm holding on. I don't expect any major stuff until maybe later this year, leading into the halving next year. Also owned by Circle. I might have missed what that was. I can't remember what we were talking about. I'm just catching up on the comments here. Anything on Boss, Cat Rocket Club? It's not one I ever got involved in. I think there was a lot of controversy when they came out first, but it's not a rabbit hole I ever went down. I don't know, did you?
For a little bit, it was one of the first projects I saw when I came into the space, but it seems like they were supposed to be building out a metaverse and things have just taken a really long time to come to fruition. I've been looking at like the floor price from time to time and it's kind of just been slowly bleeding out. So unfortunate, but I have not seen any major news coming out with the actual metaverse.
Okay. Yeah, and me, I haven't followed them at all. Link for WD, that was what we were just talking about there. Working Dead. So
Yeah.
I can put a link down below as well.
Yep. Let me go ahead and get that over to you, Paul.
Great. Actually, if you put it in the comments there or into the chat, people can get it there and I can copy it out after to put into the description.
Sounds good.
Hey Trim, good to see you. Good to see you on. Farid was saying you got to meet up in RareEvo too.
Yeah, we did. And we're actually going to be doing a Hydra fireside chat with him, Arno, Sebastian, and Pi Lanningham. So you guys stick around for that. I think that'll be really interesting to hear. And I'll just be guiding the conversation, but I think Trim and the rest of the guys will really be bringing that Hydra knowledge.
Nice. That'll be good. Is that one recorded yet, or it's going to happen?
It's not recorded. We were aiming to do it at RareEvo. Due to the amount of time that like everybody was running around, we weren't able to connect. So I think we're going to try to shoot for like next weekend, but you'll definitely get an update from me once that's ready to come out.
Nice. Yeah, that's definitely one that I'd be interested in and seeing what can come from it. And what was this one? Boss Moon game is in the works. Feels like a slow rug. I can't comment because I don't know anything about it. Not sure the exact dates, but still working on it. So hopefully that answers for, I can't remember who asked first about it. But moving on then to Catalyst. So we've about 15 minutes left. If we touch on Catalyst voting, and let me see, can I bring up my screen here? So just for anyone who isn't aware, Catalyst voting is open now. So if you registered to vote in Catalyst, then you can put your votes in now. A lot of people aren't sure where they should be voting or what they should be voting for. I see you put them links in now in the chat. Cheers. So yeah, as Trim says there, remember to vote. So even if you only go in and vote for one project or something like that, if you've registered, make sure and get your vote in. It'd be better if you go in and actually vote for lots of deserving projects, but it can be hard to find them. I've started this thread over on Twitter which I linked in last Friday's video, and I'll link down below here again, for different projects to come in and list their projects. Generally, the people that are active, there's a good chance they're going to have a higher quality proposal. Not always, but it's a good sign. I'm going to start going through these this week. First one up, Strika. These are guys I think are definitely worth a vote. This is the team behind Cardano Scan and Typhoon Wallet, which Typhoon Wallet lately has become my go-to wallet. It's solid. There's never any issues, and it's a really easy, whether you're using the minimized version or the full version. And they actually worked on the Ledger integration with Ledger Live, the staking. So definitely a team that does a lot of really good work for Cardano. And I'm sure there's lots of other really good projects down there. Actually, Smart Audit Token is one I'm going to show you now. I don't know what their proposal is, but this one I thought was interesting when I seen it here earlier today. So there's a total of 57,000 wallets registered with 4.5 billion ADA, or total ADA, that can vote for Catalyst right now. So they say here that the top 1.5% of all wallets control 56% of the voting power. So this is why it's important for everyone to get out and vote, because you could have it that one or two of the bigger wallets could sway votes, and they could be the ones to actually vote in any proposal. And I know this is always a hotly debated topic of, should it be one ADA is one vote, or one vote per one person? And to me, unless you have KYC across the whole chain, then you can't have one vote per person. It's just not feasible. And even if you did have it, in some ways, I don't think that's right either, because the idea of ADA is that it is the token that runs the Cardano blockchain. It's what you use for your, we'll call it gas fees. Some people don't like calling it gas on Cardano because that's what's used with Ethereum and other things, but it's what you use to pay for your transactions. And it's also what you use as part of governance. So the way I look at it is, the more ADA you hold, then the more reason you have to vote for good things in the ecosystem or to drive it forward. It's the same as governance within any protocol. The biggest holders should always be incentivized to actually vote for the good of the protocol. Actually, your thoughts, Farid, on one vote, one ADA, one person, and if you disagree, I think that's always good too.
No, with that particular thing, I agree with you. I don't think it's fair to lump everybody with just a single vote, especially given how invested some people may be compared to others. And as you mentioned, that's exactly what the native token is supposed to be. It's supposed to be used as a governance, token. So I think that approach is right. And to what you were saying about the tweet here that's behind us, it's really interesting that such a small portion control the majority. I think we see the same exact thing with just regular fiat, right? So we take a look at like the US dollar. You'll notice that a lot of the capital is bunched up within a very, very tight knit group, which are like people who are over like 55, nearing retirement, who are probably company and business owners. So interesting to see that even though we are in somewhat of a decentralized environment, we're not getting the participation in the ratios with how things are split out that I personally would like to see. And this also, I think, for me, makes it very clear, because I had a live stream with Trim and Josh, and one of the things that came up was how MinSwap was trying to use their delegated ADA to also vote, right? So that was a sticky conversation, because this only adds to this minority, which is basically controlling the majority of the votes with respect to Catalyst. So I think we need to sit down and collectively look at these numbers and see how can we get more people involved, and how can we incentivize this even more? Because I know people get paid or get rewarded in ADA for voting, but we should definitely have more people voting for Catalyst, given how many wallets are delegated. Now, I also understand it's a bear market, so maybe some people just stepped away, right? But if we have so many people and so many wallets on Cardano, and we're only getting, a super low percentage of them actually participating in governance, that's the minority driving the majority of the funds generated by the entire network in one particular direction. So I think to maybe prevent things from getting skewed in the future, especially as more bigger projects begin to use the ADA that they have to leverage them for votes, We probably need to have a hard and long conversation surrounding how we can get more people to actually begin voting.
Yeah, it's I seen that was a comment, maybe it was in the thread here or something like that, or someone shared it out about maybe using some of the catalyst funds in the or some of the funds in the treasury to incentivize more people to get involved in voting too. And it's probably another hot topic on, you'll have people on both sides of the camp whether they agree with incentivizing people more. But when governance is in its early stage, I think you need to push people in to get involved in it. And incentivization is definitely something that helps. And I know lots of people will get involved in Catalyst because of you do get some rewards for that. I'm not sure if it is anywhere on the exact amount you get or how that's worked out. I don't know if you've seen that anywhere. Have you?
I have not seen it. I do see a comment though in the chat with somebody saying that they didn't get their reward, so they stopped actually voting, right? So
Oh
it's
yeah.
probably not clear enough if somebody in the comments is not able to understand where or how they're supposed to get the rewards. So maybe that's something that I do a little bit of research following this. I know Josh from Lake and Crypto is pretty in tune with that process. So maybe Josh, if you're still here, let us know in the comments. How does the I guess treasury payout go towards the actual voters? But yeah, it's just my thing is we need more participation. It's unfortunate, and I think that the more participants we have, obviously the more voices are heard. So one thing maybe that sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go on. Finish here.
I was gonna say one thing that does come to mind for me is a consolidation of everything, right? So I think right now the voting takes place in one location. The proposals are posted in one location, and then there's other third-party platforms like Lido Nation that then consolidate information and try to make that presentable, right? So one thing that I did look into, and this was actually, I think, released by the Cardano Foundation, was the proposal for what they call Catalyst Voices. So this would basically be a one-stop shop, right? And I think doing something like that, where you have one place where you can put in proposals, one place where you can vote for proposals, and then get all the information you need, consolidates everything from an end user standpoint. I'm not sure if you've taken a look at some of the directions surrounding downloading the application, registering your wallet, etc. But for people that aren't really in tune with the process, going to all these different platforms and trying to aggregate all this data themselves can be a little time consuming. So I think we have to somehow lower the barrier and consolidate all the information for Catalyst to get more adoption in the future.
Yeah, that's really a good point, is how easy is the UX? And that's for crypto in general, but especially on this here, and that Lido Nation is a brilliant resource to have. I sat down with one of the teams. I sat down with Darlington on Thursday or Friday for an interview. We talked all about Lido Nation, and he took through a walkthrough of it, how it all works and some of the features in it. That one will probably come out tomorrow, actually. I need to put a rush on that to get it out with voting now. But that was a big question I was asking him was, will we get to the stage where I can vote through Lido Nation? So in this, he was showing me how you can create your basket and you can simulate your votes. So you can shortlist all of the proposals you want to vote for, and then you can even give the thumbs up and thumbs down. And I think thumbs down is important, especially if you think someone is trying to game the system just to get money for a completely crazy idea that isn't feasible. Then using the thumbs down vote can be as important as voting up the proposals that you like. But that we get to the stage where you can actually, when you create your whole simulated vote in here, that you can actually just complete it, that vote can be done. And from talking to Daniel and the Catalyst team, they are working towards that situation where everything is done in one place. And I think that will definitely bring a lot more people out to vote. When you simplify the process, make it easier, then far more people can get involved in it. Because when people come in here and you tell them you have to register in your wallet by a certain date, you have to save the QR code, then you have to download the mobile application, you have to link up the mobile application, and then you have to go through I haven't voted this time, but in previous rounds, it's not the easiest to go through and find all of the proposals and then rate them. And it's just for people who aren't spending a lot of time in the ecosystem or really invested in it, either money-wise or in terms of their belief in where it's going, then they're just not going to go through that hassle of trying to get through it all. See, Josh replied actually on the question. So rewards are deposited into the staking reward bank. It's added to your staking reward total. It's not a separate transaction, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they changed something this time. I don't know if they've changed to that or changed away from it. That's why people had to re-register this time. In previous rounds, you mightn't have had to re-register, but because they've changed how they're going to pay them out this time, you had to re-register. But I'm not sure, Josh, if you know at the rates of if someone has 1,000 ADA, what do they get for voting with that? Is it 1 ADA or half an ADA or 10? I'm not sure. I know I got rewards in the past, but I never actually worked it out to see how it translated back. What Trim has, would be interesting to see a weighted representation as a combination of 1 person, 1 vote, and 1 ADA, 1 vote. Users with no stake in the system have different priorities from whales, both important. Yeah, and that's why I suppose you'll have people on both sides of this on what they want to see. Like users with less than 10,000 ADA could pass KYC to get more voting weight, and users with more than 1 million would be weighted less. Could be tricky to avoid any kind of gaming. Yeah, that's interesting that if people are willing to KYC, then you actually give them a bit more voting power. So that's something that people who mightn't have the finances in it, that could still have a bigger say in the votes if they were willing to go that route. Projects then, so Light Donation, just for anyone who hasn't seen it, lightdonation.com, great resource for anyone looking to get involved. I think that was actually, I'm going to mention the Djed thing in a minute, but Catalyst, any other thoughts or any projects that stand out to you that deserve votes?
Yeah, I wrote down a quick list, so I'm just going to breeze through these. MinSwap, Stable Swaps, Iagon, Stature, Wing Riders, DAO, and NFT staking, as well as their Token Verification Alliance. DocuFi, which is going to be a document signing solution by IMX. Charlie 3 with free oracles in their DEX integration SDK. Fluid Shares with NFT renting. Sunday, MinSwap, LenFi, all adopting Icon. Infinity Pools, which I'm a marketer for as well, bringing NFT and fungible token staking contract to Cardano. Catalyst Voices, which I mentioned earlier, which is trying to consolidate the entire Catalyst process together. And those are, I guess, the ones that I would touch on. And one thing that sticks out to me here is the fact that we're having this conversation surrounding the rewards payouts tells me that the foundation needs to do a better job of actually making that simple and digestible. So I think there's a lot of things that can be done to be improved. And I think that's what this entire process is about, right? Having a funding round and then swinging back around, having a retrospective and saying, okay, what went well? What can be improved? And, how can we simplify this for more adoption in the next round? So I'm hopeful that, we'll continue to see improvements coming out, and that there's just been so many proposals coming out. I think 1,500 total proposals compared to 1,000 last year. So I think we're moving in the right direction, but we need to figure out a way to weed out bad actors or people that are trying to take advantage of the system by putting out 40 or 50 proposals, which are all just, looking to just take ADA from the community.
Yeah, I think them suggestions are all really good ones. Trim wants you to shout out his own one there as well. I think it's your one, Trim, for Hydra DeFi. I read the title, I haven't read the details yet, but it's looking at the possibility of using Hydra for DeFi and maybe even for DEXs or for businesses. So if anyone's interested in it, then have a look, search for Hydra when you're looking at the proposals. And I think that's kind of enough on Catalyst. And one quick thing I wanted to mention just before we finish up, I'll give you the closing thoughts then. So Cody have put out an update to say that they have updated the Djed protocol and made some improvements. The document is there. But when I went to look at it then, do I have it open? That's the wrong one. So when I went to look at Djed over on DeFi Llama, I could see there was a massive drop here, that the TVL for DeFi Llama for Djed now is showing 0. And the reason for that, when I went looking, was they're still monitoring the old address. So when Cody done the updates this time, they've moved the funds to a new contract address. Now, that opens up something else that could be a hotly contested topic, is that they had the power to move it to a new address. Now, I haven't dove into it or anything like that because this only happened just before the live stream. So I'll be looking into it and we'll comment more on it after that. But I'm not sure how they were able to move it, if it's a new address within the same stake key or what way that's working. But it's something that isn't great if there's a centralized element to a decentralized stablecoin. So do you have any thoughts on Djed? Going brain dead here.
No problem. I think generally speaking, transparency is key, right? And this applies to any other project outside of Djed. We operate in an environment where everything is literally open for all to see. So I think for people to think, and again, I'm not going to make any assumptions here that, that they can do things without people seeing, this is not the right environment to have that kind of thought, right? So what I've noticed is, just like with even things outside of crypto, the more transparent and upfront you are regarding a situation, the more understanding the people that are impacted by that decision are willing to receive that, right? So if this is the case that they do have some sort of centralized element, or that they have some sort of other kind of access that wasn't made publicly aware, I think the community would be willing to hear them out if they were to be upfront about that. Now, like you said, there's still some pieces that we don't fully know. Was this moved to a separate address using the same state key? If so, okay, maybe it's not that big of an issue. But if they're moving things to completely new addresses and they have some sort of secondary access that wasn't made public, then yes, I do think that brings up a lot of concern and a lot of issues, given the fact that there wasn't any sort of heads up that they, number one, had the ability, or number two, that they had the intention of actually doing something like this, right? I think to kind of illustrate this, we saw a very similar thing with LQ, right? Where they had a multi-sig. Now, a lot of people just weren't aware that the multi-sig was there, but they did, in fact, release an article stating, hey, we do have a multi-sig in case that, we need to stop things or we need to pause things, etc. And if that's the same case with Djed, I think they just need to be upfront, as opposed to having to have people like you dig it up and then, I don't want to make assumptions, but try to come to your own conclusion without them actually giving us the facts. It's a lot easier to be at peace if they were to say, here's the facts, here's what happened, and here's why, as opposed to you having to go and dig through some of the repositories and then find out on your own that the contract address has changed. So hopefully, it's not the latter, and hopefully we get some more clarity from them soon.
Yeah, and I didn't have enough time to dig into it before the live stream, and the reason I was showing it was just for people who go on to DeFi Llama and see that it's gone to zero. The funds are all still okay. I can see that they have been moved to a new address, which creates the questions, but I'm sure the two of us will be doing our own digging and asking questions on that, and we'll update in other upcoming videos. So look, I really enjoyed the conversation today. Great to get all the updates from yourself. It's always a very easy conversation, I find, back and forward. And thank you for the comments. Hopefully people got some value or enjoyed taking part in the conversation. In another 2-3 weeks time, maybe we could do another one. But any closing thoughts from yourself?
Yeah, I want to just kind of reiterate what you said. It's always a breeze jumping on here. Me just kind of being in the passenger seat, letting you drive. I enjoy the conversation. I think a lot of really good things come out of it. Two heads are definitely better than one. And I would love to, potentially see who else we can bring on. And even if it's just as guests intermittently, I think given the fact that we all bring in different things to the space, it's always a really solid conversation. With respect to Cardano, if you guys are here watching this content, you're obviously invested into the ecosystem. And so I would just say continue to keep at it. Hopefully within the next couple of months, we get more positive price action. But with respect to like development, it's blatantly clear that, we do have builders here. They were live and visible and present at RareEvo. They'll be representing again at NFTLV, and they're also going to be showing up at the Cardano Summit. So hope is not lost. A lot of people tend to FUD Cardano, but I think that given what I've seen and given my perspective from a content creator's viewpoint, I have no worries that Cardano will bounce back. It's just a matter of time.
Yep. I think better times will definitely come for crypto. Just at this stage, it's patience. Patience is what it takes now. Another good suggestion for someone to come on as well is Josh. So I think we mentioned Pete earlier on. So Pete and Josh, it would be great to have one or both of them on at some stage to join us and have a chat about everything that's going on. Eric, thanks for jumping in. It was 3 UTC plus 1, which is my time in Ireland. So it's just 4 o'clock for me here now. And not just as early for you this morning as it has been the last day we done it. I think it was 7 a.m. for you, but a bit later in the day today, I think.
Yeah. Today was 2 hours later. And Eric, we'll have to figure out some way to simplify the timing, I guess, moving forward.
Yeah, it's hard. The only thing is, if the live stream link is out and you go to YouTube, then it's going to tell you how many hours away it is for you. If anyone's ever confused by the different times, go onto the video when it's already scheduled, and then it tells you how many hours away it is for. So Beamer House and Roki both say they'll come on. Beamer House wants to go viral again for something different this time. All right, guys, we will close it out there. If you haven't given it a like, please do so. Share it out. I'm going to put timestamps down below for anyone coming in, watching back, and subscribe if you haven't already. And the link to Farid's channel is in the description. Thanks for joining, guys. I do appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.